against my enemies, yeah. You see, you wanted to save you, and then learn how to raise you. But I forget you're from the wilderness.
I can't believe you did this to me. And
What's after happening?
you don't remember that time?
Would you believe I don't?
In Hopkinsville. You don't remember it?
Hopkinsville. Anthony Hopkins. No, nothing's coming back to me.
Absolute dog. I can't. Well, I expect that much out of you now that you'd say that, but well, anyway, I'm going to let everyone know what happened, and it's in the form of a poem.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So here we go. Cletus and I hunting in the wood. He's scouting. I'm eating chocolate pud. All of a sudden, a flash in the sky. Cletus turns to me with scared eyes. Did you see that? He said. No, I was eating puddy instead. Cletus trains his gun at the trees ahead. What I saw next would make you shit your bed. It's Eamon, he's nude, but wrapped in tinfoil. So imagine full body wrapped in tinfoil, hole where your Mickey's hanging out.
Oh, okay, of course.
Yeah, wrapped around your head and all that.
Naturally.
Yeah, he's wrapped in tinfoil. That is my puddy well and truly spoiled. With him are some gimps and gonks. Small... Small and unusual looking, but pretty strong. The red-headed menace tells them to attack. Myself and Cletus start running like we train track. Eventually we escape and hide in a hole. It's strange, this story. Eamon never told.
Ah, I thought you were going to say Cletus is on the dole.
Cletus is on the dole, but...
Naturally.
I can't believe that, you try and pretend like that didn't happen.
Let me just comb the caverns of my mind to see if I can get any memories coming up. Give me a second. They come up a lot in the way of song,
Yeah,
that's
a good medium.
Let me just give me a second now. Ding a ding a ding 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 ding. No. Okay. Hang on. I was in Japan there. I was thinking of that. I'm going back to a different place. All right, Hopkinsville. Me and the goblins in Hopkinsville. We went through the forest to see what we could spill. We wanted to spill the blood of an Irishman. This turned into Shan Nose now.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But we just found Cletus and Rob instead. I'm just going full Irish now.
Right.
And I said to the goblins, attack, and they ran after Rob, and they ran after his sack, and they kicked him, and they scraped, and they bit, and they groaned. They said, Amen, oh Jesus, will you ever bring us home? I said to the lads, I won't bring you home. We're from Alpha Centauri, we should leave it alone. The air there's so dense, it's like 1,000 farts. I've brought you to Earth, now open your heart.
Beautiful, actually. That lessens the blow of that heinous night.
That heinous night where they kicked you in the shite.
Devilish, evil gimps and gonks.
My goblins, they told me, they said when they came, I said, Amen, we used to bait lads like that on the way to baiting lads.
Alright, well that makes sense, I suppose, to be fair. Without further ado, my name is Rob, and with me is...
the ever-loving Amen.
And we are Monster Fuzz Podcast. And just to get into it a little bit, guys, here, we are on Patreon. Patreon is like a cool breeze on a warm summer's day. Patreon. So
like
refreshing.
Iced tea in the scorching heat.
Patreon. Patreon.com/monsterfuzz. And guys, I've said it before, I'm saying it again. Community-driven podcast. We love that you guys are supporting us, and we try to make it as fun for you as possible. And, we've got a Discord, and we've got all that stuff. So, yeah, if you fancy dropping a few dollars, please do. The review contest is over, as you know. Also, if you would like to leave a review, please do. Well, if it's funny, we'll read it on air. We always do. And if you'd like to leave any sort of shares, we like Instagram shares. Do that stuff if you can. It's all optional. We also have merch, Eamon. Where's our merch at?
Our merch is at teespring.com/stores/monster-fuzz. Get yourself some of those sweet Monster Fuzz leggings. Get yourself a sweet Monster Fuzz hoodie, a sweet top, a sweet mug, some underpants. We're currently trying to get some Monster Fuzz underpants.
Yeah, we're working on that one.
They'll have the flap on the front as well, so you don't even have to take them off when you want to go to Wee Willy Town. Magic stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so do check out our Teespring, guys. It is fun. And also, just a quick one, one of our tiers on Patreon actually has a discount code for Teespring. So if you do fancy doing both, use that code. It's actually quite a substantial one, 25% off.
Ooh.
So do check it out. Twitter, I do be tweeting at MonsterFuzzPod. That's where you can find Rob. And sometimes Eamon. When I say sometimes, I mean seldom.
Very seldom.
When I say seldom, I mean
never. Yeah, I'm not going to be there. Sorry, lad.
Everywhere. You do right, though, to be quite honest with you.
Miss me with that bullshit. Catch me. I'll be on the Discord from time to time.
Yeah,
that's where
Discord's great. Yeah, that's where you find. You have to pay to talk to Eamon. He's not interested.
I'm a big deal.
Everywhere else, guys, we are a Monster Fuzz podcast. Do come on to Facebook. We do enjoy interacting with you on there. That's where you'll get generally most of our updates on our episodes and things like that. So we're also at monsterfuzzpodcast@gmail.com. And what do we do at monsterfuzzpodcast@gmail.com?
At this particular web address, what we do is we accept stories of terror and fear from the public at large. We love hearing your ghost stories. We love when people send us ghost stories. Keep sending ghoulish, ghosty, terrifying stories, and we will read them out on air and give you the silly shout out.
If you want a silly shout out, do send in your ghost stories. And so, without further ado, you've had a little bit of a taste of what's coming up in this episode from my poem, My Name and Song. We are talking about the goblins of Kelly-Hopkinsville. When I say Kelly-Hopkinsville, that's not a person. Kelly is a place, and so is Hopkinsville. Am I right, Eamon?
Yeah, but Kelly is a person, and Hopkins is a surname. Does it all make sense now?
Perhaps. Eamon, what's it all about? What's the crack?
We're going to do this in like a cool sort of unsolved mysteries voice, yeah?
Oh, okay.
All right.
Right.
On the evening of August 21st, 1955, 5 adults and 7 children visited the Hopkinsville, Kentucky police station with a strange story. A story so strange that it's pretty unbelievable. One thing that's undeniable, however, is that when the 8 adults and 3 children arrived at the nearby Hopkinsville police station at about 11 p.m., they were genuinely terror-stricken. The group reported they had witnessed a flying saucer land near the farmhouse where they were staying that night. Little men had surrounded the house, peering at the frightened families as they attempted to gain entry. It's spooky, isn't it? Now, these aren't the kind of people who normally run to the police for help. Police Chief Russell Greenwell later told investigators what they do is reach for their guns, and as we'll see later in this episode, they certainly did.
This is Cletus types, right?
Cletus Town. Yet here they were, women and children hysterical, and one man who had a pulse of 140 beats per minute when measured by an investigator. Is that
good? I suppose it is fairly high, right? Because when I run, it's probably
70. That's double. So if you were working out, you'd probably get to 140, or if you were
I get to 180 when I'm running.
Oh yeah, but you're a fucking alpha beast.
How's your running coming along, actually?
I hurt my toe, so I've been cycling. So yeah, but I was running the day before. I think that might be where I did it.
Right.
But yeah, going well enough. Running 6 and 7k fairly handily.
Alright, well that's good. Yeah, when I run, I try to match the pace of the Uruk-hai when they're carrying Merry and Pippin. That's generally the pace that I run at. and it's
Is that a Lord of the Rings reference?
yeah. So
Right, okay.
I'm trying to be Lurtz running to Saruman, so I go for that type of pace because it's quite a nice pace. And that is roughly would be at about 140 beats per minute if you were running at the Lurtz pace. And yeah, I'm going quite well with that, actually, I must say.
Oh, very good. So, could you say scientifically that the Lurtz pace is on par with having the absolute shite scared out of you by a load of little aliens?
Yeah, exactly. So if you see, like, if you don't want to do cardio, if you're not really bothered, just find some aliens and get the shit scared out of you.
Just get scared.
Yeah, so all of this happened in a place called the Sutton's Farm. And that was in a tiny rural hamlet of Kelly, Kentucky.
They really had a bad day trying to... What are we going to call this place? Well, I guess we the Suttons, so let's just call it the Sutton's Farm.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. And that's in a little rural hamlet of Kelly, Kentucky, of chicken fame. Where the family lived was an unpainted 3-room house without running water, telephone, radio, TV, or books. Which, might sound a bit yokelish, and we're in the 50s here.
This is the 50s. They had a little bit of electricity, I believe, for like the fridge and maybe some lights and stuff, but generally, it was...
A lot of places in Ireland were like that in the 50s, so it's not, you're not really, I'm not trying to disparage these people or anything.
No. Certainly rural Ireland, very much so, yeah.
Yeah. Their farm, which was about 3 acres, grew tobacco. Which would have been the staple crop for places in that region and stuff. And then they grew some vegetables for home use.
Yeah, so they had like a subsistence thing going on there, yeah.
Yeah, they were doing the old live off the land jobby. The permanent residents of the farm were Mrs. Langford and J.C. Suttons and the 3 children. But the Taylors and the Elmer Suttons had been staying there for some months. Elmer is an interesting name. This is the second time I've heard Elmer the third time after Elmer Fudd, Elmer's Glue, of Glue fame, and now Elmer Suttons. This is the 3 Elmers that I've ever heard of.
3E.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of any other Elmers?
No.
No. Yeah, well, see, there you go.
Yeah.
They've been staying there for a few months anyway, the Elmers. These 2 couples had been with a travelling carnival. It was there that Elmer had the letters Lucky tattooed on the fingers of his left hand, acquiring the nickname Lucky. Now, Eamon, when I was, as you do,
you do, yeah.
How do you put Lucky on your fingers when
That's when you get you'd only get 4. So it'd be like either Ucky or Luck. I'd say
Ucky.
Ucky. Oi. I'd say he involved the old thumb knuckle in that one.
The bride of Ucky.
The
But if you try and do your thumb knuckle there, it's very hard to do. I don't know, unless he had really long thumbs. So, but because he was a carnival folk, it is possible that his thumb was as long as his index finger.
I mean, we can neither substantiate nor deny that claim.
Yes, so, I mean, look, who knows? So, having seen a flying saucer while out getting water from the well, Billy Ray Taylor excitedly told the rest of those in the house. People laughed him off until a dose of these goblins came waddling towards the house. So, it's all full of games until, you see your mate comes in and goes, lads, I seen a UFO last night, you're all laughing, you stupid fucking asshole. And then, next thing, fucking aliens rest your door in.
Exactly, and these aliens, we'll go on to describe what they looked like a little bit later, but they're a little bit similar to the little aliens in Toy Story, in the claw.
Yeah. Like Mormons at your door.
Yeah, and we all know how hard they are to get rid of. Now, I wouldn't advocate shooting them, but the Suttons do what the Suttons do.
So, Eamon, what did the Suttons do with these little aliens?
So, John Sutton and Billy Ray Taylor claim to have fought off these little men with a shotgun and a pistol for several hours before leaving to notify the police. The little men, they reported, were short, monkey-like, with long arms and webbed hands with talons. They had large, bright, offset eyes and pointed ears. So their eyes offset, that's almost like a little gecko or something.
Yeah, and was this is like that 30 Days a Night film, except with Hicks. Isn't that what happens in that? It's like a lot of vampires are
It's
besieged.
like 30 Days a Night, but less snow and way cuter.
Yeah, well, cuter, yeah, I don't know whether...
These fellas are kind of cute, the little aliens.
You think so?
Yeah.
So we have a sketch, guys, and as always, the sketch is hilarious. As always, the sketch will be on our Instagram. So that's what I do when I post a new episode. The bio will have like I'll have the pictures that we use in our episode notes, and then the bio will be a little bit about the episode MO, like with the blurb that you wrote and stuff like that. So what does the sketch by Larry Hill depict?
So it kind of looks. How would you say it? So, pointed ears, big heads, all green. They have sort of weird aquatic webbed kind of hands. And they're in these little silverish metallic, I don't want to say space suits because I'm setting a precedent, but space suits. And interestingly, fun fact about this is that the newspaper articles coined the phrase little green men when reporting about this.
Famous phrase.
Yeah, famous phrase.
It's used by a lot of people.
Yeah, and as well, this encounter is notable for a couple of reasons. The first is that there's a lot of witnesses here. So you've nearly a dozen witnesses. Now, the duration of the encounter is very long. It's several hours of these people basically trying to shoot away these little green men. And also the close proximity between the witnesses and the creatures, which sometimes is just a few feet away. And as you can imagine, this quickly became regional and even national news.
They look kind of so the kind of the weird thing about the image, guys, is, and I'll share it on the Instagram, is that it looks quite different from the description I think that they give. I had like it's a bit different, and we'll go into it a little bit to explain the differences. The goblins were thought to be about 2.5 to 3.5 feet. Their ears were swept back, so think the scrolls out of Captain Marvel, you know. The eyes were yellow in the middle with white rims, about 6 inches apart, and risen from the face, kind of like an upside down Reese's peanut butter cup, or like a bottle cap, I suppose, Eamon, yeah?
Yeah, bottle cap's probably an easier reference. I do love a Reese's peanut butter cup, though.
So do I.
What's your favourite peanut butter product, aside from just peanut butter?
The king of all peanut butter products is an underrated one, very hard to get, possibly extinct. Peanut Lion Bar.
Peanut Lion Bar, that is a good one. That is a
Peanut
good one.
Lion Bar, how's about yourself?
I'm going to actually stick with Reese's peanut butter cups here. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah, they're diabetes though. They're like,
well, yeah.
Yeah, peanut Lion Bars are the truth. Peanut Lion Bars.
Well, peanut butter Kit Kats are pretty good as well.
They're good. There's not enough shit in them.
Obviously, Snickers as just a regular peanut bar is quite good as well.
It's not butterized though.
That's true. It's not. Well, you can get. Do you ever have the Snickers peanut butter? Like, you know, they release different types every now and then. Man, the Snickers peanut butter bring you to your knees and just start begging for buttermilk. Like, it's lovely.
Yeah, that does sound quite tantalising though, to be fair. The mouth on this sucker was a thin line.
So not much of a sucker at all.
No, it was like a little slit he had going across his head. He was kind of like Zippy out of Rainbow.
Or Terrence and Phillip.
Zippy, bango. It was like them. So, actually, speaking of accents, one of our listeners decided, this is how much it must have either annoyed me, he felt passionately about it in any case, he took a screenshot of one of our episodes, I think it was maybe the Bunyip or one of them, shared it to his Instagram, right, on his actual feed. I think his name is actually Sussex Matt, so shouts out to Matt if that's the right name I'm thinking of. And he said that we have listen to this shit, listen to this little bitch.
Oh my god,
right? He said that we had the worst Australian accents he's ever heard. Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard like that?
Sounds like he hasn't heard a lot of stuff in his life. in his young life.
Sounds like he needs to get around
Listen,
Australia a bit more and
listen.
listen to some accents.
Yeah, Sussex, Matt. We've heard all the accents, like friendly Australian. G'day, mate. That's a perfect friendly Australian accent.
Ah, shrimp on the barbie.
Brilliant.
Ollie.
I thought I was in Perth for a second there.
Yeah.
We actually call you Neil Perth because your Australian accent is so good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I saw it's just this hostility that we have to deal with.
I don't agree with that. But Rob, speaking of dead drummers, tell me what the torsos were like of the Little Green Men.
Ah, of course, yes. The torsos. Well, the torsos were muscly and top heavy, while the legs were more spindly. So yeah, think of a dude in the gym, you know, those kind of guys who skip leg day.
Skipping leg day, yeah.
Yeah. Never skip leg day, folks. The arms were elongated and oversized at about 2 to 3 feet, and the hands were webbed at the fingers, culminating with sharp talons. The Suttons couldn't see the feet of the goblins, but reported they had no necks. There is actually a local with no neck. I won't name that person, but yeah, it's actually pretty weird. Like, this person has no neck, don't I? Then, yeah. Except for the big glowing yellow eyes, the creatures were the same color all over. In the dark, this was a phosphorescent or luminescent glow, much like the rope, and it's got the roping vibes going on.
With arms wide open.
But when a light was turned on them, this changed to a dull, metallic look. So kind of like, those jackets like that all the young lads wear, the North Face ones, that kind of, you know, they glow in the dark and then they don't glow in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen those ones that, like, people are wearing these sports jackets and they're luminous, but they're just luminous in general, like the way that the light catches it. Fantastic stuff. Probably the same lads who engineered, the space ship that crashed in Roswell made it, I'd say. Yeah,
alien technology for sure.
For sure.
Little Green too.
I don't know why I put that in there. I just put it in there for the crack. I think I was thinking it to myself and I was like, that'll be fun.
I think you were
film.
going, But, Eamon, what actually happened?
Well, we're going to get into a bit more depth on this one. But don't worry, you're not going to drown. Just like any issue, when you fall into a body of water and you're nervous that you might be submerged completely until you can't breathe anymore and you eventually fill your lungs with water and effectively drown. Just let your body go slack. Just let yourself float away on the current. Listen to the calming tones of my voice as I tell you about
ASMR. Stop, that's making me all creeped. All that fucking, that twitchy shit you get in your ears. ASMR makes me all weird. It gives me the shivers.
I can start just talking like this. Taylor, 21, and his 18-year-old wife had come home from Pennsylvania to visit Lucky Sutton. Right, Taylor, 21, and his 18-year-old wife had come from Pennsylvania, which is also a spooky place, to visit Lucky Sutton, with whom he had worked with on a travelling carnival before. So these are folks who work the carnivals together.
They all knew each other, good pals,
Yeah. Now, the Suttons, the head of the household, was a 50-year-old widow and the matriarch, Glennie Langford. Her 2 older sons and their wives, a brother-in-law, and the widow's 3 younger children, who were 12, 10, and 17. They obviously didn't take Billy Ray seriously when he was saying that he saw a UFO when he went out to fetch some water. Now, there were accounts of like some sort of flash in the sky that people might have thought was a meteor or something that night.
Yeah.
I think the Suttons might have said to him that, they had said, no, that's like a meteor or something like that. And Billy Ray remained steadfast in his claims that it was an unidentified flying object. Or a spaceship, which is what he put it down there. But what happened an hour after this, after everyone jeering poor old Billy Ray mercilessly?
Yeah. So, ASMR. An hour later, alerted by the dog's incessant barking, Lucky and Billy Ray went to the back door and...
it's not great,
weird,
is it?
It doesn't feel good. I made out a strange glow, in the midst of which they spied a small humanoid creature.
Hello, we have come to say hello.
Oh, that's an MP3. Is it from the?
That's an
the
MP3.
night?
Yeah, I think they're. Hang on, I just press play on this other audio recording I have.
Right.
We wish you no harm. Please just accept our greeting and peace as what are you pointing? No, no, no. That's
Oh, and that just cuts off, does it?
Yeah, it just cuts off then.
Right. Okay, that's pretty weird. So, yeah. So it was about 3.5 feet tall and had an oversized head, almost perfectly round. Its arms extended almost to the ground. Its hands had talons, and its oversized eyes glowed with a yellowish light. We kind of know that already. The body gave off an airy shimmer in the light of the night's new moon, they said, as if made of silver metal.
Fun fact, that
Yes.
night there was apparently an eclipse. So there was, before this happened, there was an eclipse, and now you have your full moon, you have fucking UFOs smashing into the ground, and little green men coming at you like Cleopatra.
Yeah, so this is like, Plants versus Zombies, except without plants and out zombies. It's like yokels versus aliens. That's the new
It's
game.
a lot more like that, yeah.
That's the new game, and we patent it, so we don't want to hear
It's
any
ours
of your
now.
bullshit. Yeah. So, terrified, the two men grabbed, as you would be, you'd be terrified
yeah.
at seeing this shit. The two men grabbed a 20-gauge shotgun and a 2.2 rifle and fired at the little man, as you do. That is the American way.
That's where the
It looks
MP3 came
strange.
from.
Yeah, that's the MP3. The American way is when it looks strange, you shoot at it.
Yeah, and apparently the Suttons had more guns in that house than they had jam.
More guns than sense. Its hands were raised as if held up by gunpoint at this
Please
point.
don't shoot me.
I was scared. And it did a flip
Yeah.
and scrambled upright and fled into the darkness. So it did a backflip.
Yeah, it was doing flippy shit.
Yeah. So, Eamon, what did Miss Langford have to say about all this?
So, when she was interviewed in 1959, she said that at first she didn't pay any attention to the boys. She thought that they were just joking and shooting for the
Acting the
fun of
goose.
it. Yeah, as you do in, urban
goosing around.
America. She and the other women were busy with the supper dishes and putting the children to bed, the way things should be. I'm joking, obviously. 1959.
Remember, I'm the sounder one. Please do.
Yeah,
vote for
Rob
me.
is the sounder one. I believe in equal
thanks,
rights and equal opportunity of outcome. She said, "We thought the boys were only kidding, although they were coming into the house and telling about seeing and shooting at the things. I did not take them seriously until about 10 o'clock, when Aileen came in, terrified, white, nervously shaken, saying that she had seen one of these little men. She was terribly upset, and her nervousness continued for several dang days. I suggested to the boys that we turn the lights out, which probably isn't going to help make someone not afraid, which we did. I decided then to see just what it was that they was seeing. I went out into the hallway and crouched down next to Billy, and I asked him, 'Now just what have you been seeing?' And he said, 'Wait, and you'll see.'"
So, just to go chapter briefly, I have a thing with like lights and night and like security lights and all that shit. So, right, you're assuming, I suppose, that the security light comes on at night. Why? Why? Now you're in the bed, you're asleep. So, why does the security light come on?
I
Is it
suppose
so
it's
that
to
the robber
deter...
can find his way to your door? Seriously though, right? And it's also the same as like, if someone breaks into your house, you don't want the lights on. Okay, let me give you an example. Walk around your fucking bedroom in the dark, and have you ever gone out for a piss in the middle of the night and then come in and you fall over everything?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So when someone breaks into your house, you're wanting to spook them. Keep it dark. Throw a load of fucking runners all around the floor and shit. Shitty underpants and things like that. Booby traps. And then you want to come at them with a bat. Like, you don't want to turn the lights on. The lights are your enemy.
Yeah,
They map out the house room.
Because you know the house, yeah. Do you think that instead of a light, like a sensor light, you should have like a sensor audio? So like someone gets too close to your property and no lights come on, but they just hear something goes, "Welcome to your doom."
That'd probably deter more people.
That we might actually be onto something here. We could patent this along with our Yokels versus Aliens video game.
If you had something up on the door, like real shit inside, You open this door, you're going to get in real shit.
Real shit inside.
You're going to get into some real shit if you break into my house. Seriously though.
Yeah.
Break into my house, all dark. Me with me Mickey out, nude. Pickaxe handle.
Do you sleep nude?
Yeah, sometimes. I not as much anymore. I used to have issues with skid marks on the sheets. So then what you do is...
Weetabix dust.
Skiddies. So then what you... Pickaxe handle, come down, crouch down real low. Straight across the shins, drop him. Then one to the head, dust, game over. And then what you do is you lay them outside your front door in a heap.
What had happened is the audio.
Put your underpants over their head. Put your shitty underpants over their head.
Like a shitty COVID mask. What would happen then is that after that, the audio would just play Barney on a loop while he's crippled, hobbled at your doorway. Just like, but it's in like really weird, like, I love you, you love me, me, we're happy. Just like, and he's just like, help me, please.
Yeah, look, if someone breaks into your house, you have to let them know that they're entering the fucking carnival.
Oh, yeah,
and there's a motherfucking carny inside.
I think what would be really cool is as soon as the center light comes on, instead of the center light just goes, Wu-Tang, bitch!
Protect your neck. I'm gonna sew your asshole real shut, keep feeding you. I'm feeding you. So yeah, you just hit them with the bat, dust, and take them all out. This is, look, don't turn on the lights. The lights are not your friend, people. Trust me.
Come to the dark side.
Yeah, if you're worried about like, oh, you know, but then I can't see them either, just start banging shit and screaming. Just start banging shit and screaming. Yeah. Start banging the walls and going like, ah! And then they're going to run, like. They're not going to hang around.
Probably are.
Think about it.
How'd you get on that last house? Fuck that, man. Don't go back there. They're fucking mental.
Cartwheel down the stairs nude with a shitty arse.
Just hollering. Doing the crab down the stairs. Shit flying everywhere.
It'd be even better if you did that. And then just knocked you out with a punch as soon as you got close to him.
That's what you deserve. That's what you deserve. Can you imagine the police statement? And what happened then, ma'am? Well, I'd been listening to a podcast I'm fond of called Monster Fuzz, and they had said that in the case of someone actually breaking into your house, turning on the lights wasn't a good thing to do. They actually said to cartwheel down the stairs while shitting was the best way to ward off an intruder.
To be honest, I think it is though. I still stand by that. I'm gonna start teaching fuck Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah. I gotta do my own techniques now from now on.
Ladies and gentlemen, what I would like to say to you is if you want to get on your Google machine and just send an email there to monsterfuzzpodcast@gmail.com, let us know how you're getting on in your training for cartwheeling down the stairs in the dark while shitting all over the place to ward off intruders. Videos, short missiles, anything that you have to let us know how you're getting on.
Yeah.
And Eamon and Rob's survival guide.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. Yeah,
just start pissing all over the place, man. I'm telling you, like.
Yeah, look, trust me. This is how you're going to save. Lives are going to be saved using my techniques. So, go for it, Eamon.
Right. I'm going to continue.
Where were we, Eamon? What was happening? I don't even know anymore.
I know, we just... well, obviously what they should have done here is start doing cartwheels and shitting, and then the goblins would have been like, I'm going back to the spaceship. You know, that would have made sense. However, Miss Langford goes on to say, we remained crouched down about 3 feet from the screen door, the front door, for about 20 minutes, when I saw one approaching the door. Billy and I remained crouching until it came right up to the screen. It looked like a 5-gallon gasoline can with a head on top and small legs.
There's lads like that in town.
There are several lads like that in town.
There's a lad called Tetris who goes around town with a big square head. Never heard of Tetris?
No, but I want to see Tetris. Bling, 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 bling.
Yeah, there's a lad, for our listeners, there's a lad from our town and his name is Tetris. He just has a square head.
Is Tetris from outer space? Tune in on the next episode.
It is possible. It's possible that there's something going on there anyway.
Yeah. Probably the same sort of inbreeding that might have been going on out in this place. Anyway, That's not true. That's not a nice thing to say about the Suttons and the Langfords and all that sort of stuff. So I'd like to take that back in front of the board. Sorry now, lads. I'm being fucking scurrilous, and I'm saying I'm looking for the cheap laughs, and I shouldn't be. I should be looking for the more erudite laughs. Rob certainly isn't Sounder in real life. He's it's all a masquerade with him. Like, you'll find out later. They'll be like, why did he have a collection of small shoes in his attic? Yeah, exactly. Fucking motherfucker's a serial killer.
Jesus Christ. Evan cyberbullying me now, folks, as well. Just to let you know.
I'm embracing my darkness. That's what it's going to say when you get close to my house. Open this door and embrace the darkness. So you look through the peephole, you just see a fella cartwheel down. I tried to get up from my crouched position to move back farther from the door. I did not make it, as I am heavy and my legs have become stiff from remaining in a crouched position.
Thrombosis, I guess that's sometimes.
For Miss Langford, for a woman who was surviving on subsistence vegetables, she'd packed on the pounds.
Like Jelly Legs Mick as well.
Another fellow who lives in the town, is he?
No, Jelly Legs Mick is from, I think he's from up Mayo, but same thing. But so just to paint a picture for you guys here, like, because we've been ducking and diving here. Dark house. All the family is afraid. They're all crouched and huddled. They're all looking out the window, aren't they?
What was that, Billy Ray?
Now, your one's deep vein thrombosis is starting to get at her.
She might have to have both legs amputated.
Yeah, and her diabetes legs are getting at her. What's going on,
Eamon? She lost her balance and fell flat on the floor. That actually did happen. Being in the dark, I lost my balance and fell flat on the floor, making a thud-like noise and letting out a shriek. Now, at the same time, the thing jumped back into the yard, and Billy shot it right through the screen.
Oh my, I did fail on my minge.
Oh my God.
Oh my, young Billy, I've had to fall on my minge.
Do you want to take
Please there, help me out.
Do you want to take over? Fuck's sake. It's like running a crash. Fucking going on holidays with your auntie.
Oh damn, Eamon, I fell and hurt my minge. Will you please fetch my walker?
And my good leg.
I'm in an awful dizzy. I'm all chewed up now.
My germs.
So, it then jumped up, we thought, right on the roof of the house. So, yeah, it sort of...
Did a Robson and Jerome.
Yeah, it backflipped up onto the roof. And was chilling up on the roof of the house. And Billy went out the door to get another shot at it, American style. Maybe just shoot that motherfucker.
Fucking American ninja over there, too. Fucking jumping around the house with a fucking 2-2 and fucking 45.
Oh, fucking hell. Lads are like, what's it? There's a video game that's like fucking Call of Duty Zombies. Like, the lads are fun.
Man, this is why we have to stop. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, for those not in the biz, we just recorded a fucking 2-hour podcast and we're like half an hour into this one.
Biz.
And we're going demented.
Oh, there, Eamon, will you please help me? I'm going demented. I'm losing my mind. Oh, Aloysius. So lads are playing basically Call of Duty Zombies in their house. And they're fucking pressing X on the windows.
Through the windows and all that.
Yeah, they're pressing X on the windows to barricade and shit. And the fucking Maz in that... What's that Last Stand?
The Maz like a fucking turtle or something. A beetle.
She's in Last Stand part of Call of Duty where you get
Choose
shot,
the coward's way out.
No, when you get shot, you think you're dead, but you're on your arse and you can scoot around and still shoot. That's the Maz. She's got Last Stand on.
Patch her up, Billy Ray. Patch her up.
Oh, there, help me there, Billy Ray. I got my diabetes feet. So, by then her son... So, hang on there now.
So Billy's running out the door with his 45 and his 2-2.
Right, yeah.
To get another shot at it.
Right, yeah. So the thing's clawy hands snatched at Billy's head. It was kind of going like, what are you doing, Billy?
Give it up, Billy.
Yeah. By that time, Aileen had come to the door. She grabbed, oh there, Billy, I'm at the door now. I gotta stop drinking that iced tea. It's giving me my diabetes.
I sure did drink a lot of iodine today.
She grabbed Billy's arm and snatched him back into the house. By then, her son Lucky, who had been guarding the other doorway, the back door as
Tradesman entrance,
had also arrived at the front door, coming through the house. He pushed out the door past Billy and Aileen and shot at the thing while it was still on the overhang above the front door. Several times, apparently, the men thought they had driven the creatures off for good, only to have them return after an interval. This is indicated by Lucky's statement, quoted in one newspaper, that the creatures came up to the house 6 times, and also by the fact that the family waited so long before going to help. So this was a siege, Eamon, right? Call of Duty Zombies, few waves.
Yeah, this is like the Horde. This is like the third wave of the Horde.
And they're still fighting away.
They're still fighting away. So we're trying to give you, I mean, this, we've obviously told you, look, we could have made this podcast real fucking boring. Could have made it real shitty. We could have just said, yeah, family there, and they just, like, all these aliens came and they were shooting at them. Anyway, do you think that happened, or do you think they were all hammered on moonshine? We could have done that. We're trying to bring you through here. We're trying to tell you what happened. So, in the vein of telling you what happened, we're going to tell you what happened next. Shortly after, the men saw a similar creature appear in a side window, and once again, they fired through the window. They just said, fuck it, let's do it. Now, still impervious to bullets, like Superman, the little man again flipped and then disappeared. So every time these dudes are getting hit by the bullets, they're like basically
flipping around.
Yeah, they're flipping around, and there's also reports that they left off a sheen. So like when they'd get hit, there was this little, like, I don't know, let's say like a yellow sheen or something like that, like a little force field or something.
Yeah.
And they'd flip out and then like scurry away or get back to their feet. So Miss Langford said she went out into the hallway and crouched down next to Billy. Oh, hang on now. I've gone back in time to tell you the thing. Sorry, she told a different reporter. It's the same story again, basically.
Yeah, same story, yeah.
Where she goes on to say it looked like the 5-gallon gasoline man.
Which we haven't described that. Like, Mrs. Langford, in one of her accounts. So like this is one of the interesting things about the Goblins, is that, you know, it sort of varies in a few different reports on how it looks. This is a more sort of weird one. It looked like a 5-gallon gasoline can with a head on top and small legs. It was shimmering bright metal like on my refrigerator.
It's so basically
weird.
we kind of touched on that earlier. Yeah, this one's from, so a lot of research from this we got is Close Encounter at Kelly and Others of 1955 by Isabel Davis. So we're going to get a bit more into that. They also said that later scraping or tapping noises were heard on the kitchen roof, and the men went out into the backyard that basically saw a creature then who was moving up the roof.
Yeah.
Again, they shoot at it and they knock it from the roof, and it see what you did there. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I was about to say, we have a shared document here that we're both working off. I was about to say they shot it. So what my original draft said was they shot at it and knocked it from the roof, then it floated to the back fence. Now what Rob did in real time has changed it, so it now reads they shot at it and knocked it from the roof, then it floated to the pubes. So that's pretty cool, eh? It's pretty good. A distance of some 40 feet from the top of the roof to the pubes, where it seemed to perch. They shot it again, knocked it off the fence, and this time it scurried off into the weeds on all fours.
Yeah, think of like
think of pubes.
I suppose yeah, like the Exorcist one when she's running down the stairs, that kind of shit.
Doing the crab.
Yep, doing the crab down the stairs.
Doing the crab. Inverted crab, which is just crawling, I suppose.
Indeed, yeah, that would be just crawling. Interestingly, the creatures never really exhibited any behaviour that could be described exhibit Pimp My Ride fan. They never exhibited any behaviour. That word actually comes from Exhibit the Rapper.
Oh dear, that's where it first came from.
Yeah.
Tina's been driving around in this shit heap for about 3 decades. We gon' pimp her ride with 2 PlayStation 2s and a 10-inch monitor.
Exhibited in the dictionary, if you look it up, means to put 10-inch monitors and goldfish in the back of a car.
I think so, yeah. If you want your car battery to die inside 45 minutes, bring your car on to Pimp My Ride.
Isn't it weird that Exhibit was at a show where he exhibited cars?
I'm fucking exhausted.
But doesn't that food for thought? Exhibit. His name was Exhibit, and he also exhibited.
Did the aliens make any attempt to retaliate for the shooting at all?
So, Eamon's trying to, he won't even enter the discussion about Exhibit, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like fucking 10th dimension shit. His name is Exhibit, and he exhibited cars to people, so there must be some deeper meaning here.
That's like something no hate on mentally ill people, but this is like something that someone that gets lost in psychosis would start to repeat over and over again.
That sounds very
his
right.
name is Exhibit, but he exhibits, and keeps saying it ad nauseum, and you're like, what? And he just keeps saying it. But anyway,
are there any side effects from that fucking no piss medication you're taking, or
we should tell people actually.
Why Rob's seems like he's on the hash, but he's not on the hash.
No, I wasn't on no piss or anything last week. This is the first week of no piss.
This is the No Piss podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
It's like no faff except for piss. Just everyone well guys, 10 days in, no porn, I'm feeling great, no piss. So everyone, listeners, I'm on no piss tablets. And that what happened was I was pissing quite a lot. And so I was obviously very concerned about pissing excessively. I was like, do I have diabetes? Am I drinking too little? Am I drinking too much? Do I have an electrolyte imbalance? Etc., etc. So I went to the doctor. He was a Nigerian man. I booked my appointment and I went into the doctor. I said, how are you there? I'm pissing a lot anyway. And he goes, do you have a urine sample? And I went, no. And then he went, why? And I just looked at him and I was like, what? Do you want me to bring it in a fucking 7-Up bottle? Do you want me to bring it in a Coke bottle? What do you want me to bring a fucking piss into a bag of crisps and bring it down to you? What am I going to bring you a piss sample in? What would you piss into to bring it down to the doctor?
I don't know, one of the urine sample things.
Yeah, I don't have them. What the fuck do they think I am? Fucking, a chemist?
Then I'd probably just go with a 7-Up bottle rather than the crisp bag, to be honest. Piss in a crisp bag with a fucking elastic band. What would have been hilarious is if he just been like, do you have a urine sample? And you just handed him a fucking bag potato full of piss.
Yeah. So he just looks at me, why?
We've got your results back and there's extra salt and vinegar in your urine.
And I was like, no. What the fuck do you think? Do I look like a fucking medical wholesaler? So I said, no, but I can piss now. So I went, okay, and he gave me a bottle. Yeah, great.
Did he give you a 7-Up bottle?
No, surprisingly.
He gave you a packet of crisps.
Yeah, he gave me a bag of crisps. So I got the bag of crisps, I went into the toilet, I tied that around my willy with a bit of an elastic band around it and just peed freehand. And brought it back into him. He analysed my wheeze. I said there was no infection.
Did you just dip his finger into the crisp bag and taste it? He was like, I know what you need.
No, I was actually quite surprised because he was like, yeah, no, he was like, no infection or anything like that. Did he test for diabetes? No. Did he test for anything?
Oh, no.
Did he prescribe me loads of medication? Yes. Why? Who knows? So I'm on no piss tablets now for the laugh.
I didn't think that they were real. I didn't think they were real things. No piss tablets.
Do I have diabetes? Possibly.
Yes.
Does a brother like Jaffa cakes?
Yes, that's true.
Did I eat an Oreo and dairy milk chocolate bar before the podcast?
Yes.
Indeed. Now, so this guy doesn't know anything apparently, so that was good that I went to the doctor. And I am on no piss tablets, and they're called Betmega 50 milligrams, which are the stronger version, by the way. So he went, not only does this man need piss tablets.
Not only does he need diabetes medication, we give him the strongest anti-piss tablets I can find.
He needs super piss tablets. So 1 in 10 people on these piss tablets get palpitations, nausea, diarrhea. So it sounds like a good time.
How do they interact with the whiskey? Well,
seems good, yeah, so far. We'll find out soon. All will be revealed. So, in short, after going to the doctors, I know less than when I went in, and I've actually complicated matters further by adding medication to the equation. So, I'm on this for 30 days, like. I'm on no piss for 30 days.
No Piss podcast.
Hello and welcome to the No Piss podcast.
Tonight there will be no piss.
I am Rob, and I probably have diabetes, which means I can make fun of people for having diabetes and get away with it, which is great. So, anyway, aiming out with my health conditions to the public, by the way. So, this is, again, Who Sounder. Listen, Who Sounder.
Probably me.
Three
You want to
instances.
get diabetes just so you can abuse people with diabetes. Come on now.
Yeah, no, I actually, in all seriousness, folks, don't worry too much. You know, I know you guys are signing up to Patreon now. We got to help Rob pay his medicine bills. I know you guys are really nice that way. You know, I know it's all coming. Patreon medication tier is going to be $200 a month. No, I know you're all worried. You know, oh, what if our favourite podcast ends because Rob pisses himself to death? The good news is that I actually believe that it's from too much cardio. That's what I think is happening.
What?
I'm running quite a lot, so I reckon that there's some type of imbalance. You know, I'd be out running 5 days a week at the minute, and you do know I ran 10k the other day.
Oh my god!
And you do know I ran 7k the next day.
Oh my god!
I'm running a lot of Ks. I see your little bitch steps on Samsung Health, by
Fucking
the way.
running this podcast into the ground.
Can I just tell you? I seen your bitch steps on Samsung Health.
Yeah, sometimes I don't be. Sometimes I don't be tracking it. You know, just do my own thing. Like it's not about competition.
Well, the good news is, and you wouldn't know because you've, as our listeners know, you've graduated from a wooden phone and you've recently got yourself quite a snazzy phone. Fantastic.
I don't know how do you turn it on?
It does it automatically, Eamon.
What?
It's on all the time. Samsung Health tracks your steps all the time.
My wooden phone didn't used to listen to my conversations and try to sell me stuff. My wooden phone was good like that.
This one does, yeah, it does, to be fair. I bought an Oura Ring. Well, actually, I didn't buy an Oura Ring. Roy bought me an Oura Ring, but I was very, inundated with Oura Rings recently, and I wanted to get one.
What's an Oura Ring?
It's a ring that tracks everything, except, it's great. It tells you if you have diabetes and everything. So it's a ring. It's a smart ring. So it does smart things, you know. It tells you, it does your maths for you and tells you what time of the day it is, what the weather is.
My abacus does my maths for me. Thank you very much.
They are actually, all jokes aside, they're a pretty cool fitness thing if you don't want to watch and if you're not really fussed with having a display. It's literally just a ring you put on your finger. It does all of the health shit and your sleep track and all that shit. You know, I have sleep apnea, so let's go to track all that shit, you know.
Yeah, what about these aliens, though?
Well, perhaps the real aliens are those in my kidneys. The strange thing about the creatures, I suppose, Eamon, is that they never exhibited any. Oh, I read this part. This is the exhibit bit. Yeah, so they never actually tried to retaliate. They weren't mad. They never attempted to even get into the house, Eamon, did they?
Just simply stood by the door getting shot at.
So perhaps it's worth contemplating that if there were, and this is interesting, Eamon, this is very interesting our future alien conversations in general.
For any listeners that haven't shut off this podcast and vowed never to listen again
I
yet.
love listening to my kidneys. What are you talking about? This is perhaps human weaponry is not even a threat to aliens.
It doesn't seem to be for these lads. It just seems to help them do mad flips.
Yeah, maybe they're just like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, maybe to them, guns are like, like firecrackers, or like, not even firecrackers. Do you remember the little shitty bangers you used to get as a kid where you throw them at people's feet and laugh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, maybe that's what a gun is to them.
Maybe this is fun for them. It's like, because they're carnival folk, so maybe it's like they thought this was the carnival, and when the lads were shooting them, they were doing all flips and stuff. It was like going on the hurdy-gurdies, and they were having mad laugh. They're like, wee, willies, woo, every time they shot them, you know?
Yeah, they could have been having a laugh at the old carnies. Simon, what was reported about this incident?
Well, the main things that were reported, besides the sort of, they say here, the grotesque appearance of the creatures, but I would disagree with that. I think they sound quite cute and lovable once you get to know them. So the number of witnesses, as we said, was quite unusual. So of the 8 adults and 3 children who have been at the farmhouse that night, all except one had seen the creatures. So a huge amount of people talking about these creatures. Now, you have to remember as well, when they're saying to the police what they've seen, they're getting cross-examined and stuff, and the description is remaining quite similar, you know, or exactly the similar. Again, as we talked about earlier, the duration was very, very unusual. Usually encounters with aliens they're pretty quick, unless you're getting abducted and you're getting probed 6 ways from Sunday. But you're talking about early Sunday evening until almost sunrise on Monday morning. And again, the approach of the creatures is quite unusual. So they're reported to have been seen and shot from very close range. And they're also, like we said, they're not retaliating. So kind of a strange one there. And if we just go down, Rob, there is a picture of Elmer Sutton and Billy Ray Taylor at the door of the farmhouse.
There's indeed a picture of the two of them, yes.
So yeah, you can see, you know, it's kind of like a shack, really, isn't it? Just a deluxe shack, if you will.
Rural shithole.
Yeah. I mean, pretty standard, I'd say, for rural 50s America, to be fair, you know.
Yeah. Barnhouse looking type of thing. Yeah. Farmhouse kind of shit.
So they said basically that whenever the goblins came towards the house, they had an upright posture, walking slowly with their hands raised, which seems like someone saying, "Don't shoot me," but however, Miss Langford said she thought the slow approach and raised hands meant the creatures were trying to establish communication. Again, probably not the best idea to shoot them.
No.
But again, as we were saying, every time they were shot, there's these fantastic tricks, and they never fall, but they float towards the ground. So it's, I mean, what I'm thinking is, do they have some sort of like force field that it's making sure they don't hit the ground hard from a height, and then when they get shot, it's kind of flipping them around and just making sure they don't sustain any damage?
Maybe, yeah. It could be like some type of gravity device that they have. Obviously, if they're aliens, they probably come from a planet with different gravity, so maybe they have some type of like way of you know, moving around in our gravity. Very interesting, and also, unlike most UFO sightings and all that, this was a long time. So, you know, they went the whole 9 yards with this story. So whether it's true or not, you know, they decided to really tell the whole hog, you know, they didn't shy away from any details or anything like that.
And I mean, as well, like, what they're saying is after the aliens do get shot, there's a new thing that happens. Basically, after they flip out and float down, they lower their hands to the ground and they run very rapidly, except that the arms seem to furnish most of the propulsion. And again, as we said, the thin legs are, as Miss Langford said, as spindly as broom handles, seem to be used only for balance and to move in unison. So the arms are there, whereas our legs would be our strongest, let's say, limb. There it seems to be reversed for them, where the arms seem to have most of the strength.
Yeah, very interesting. And the legs were inflexible, so when the creatures ran, the hip joints were flexed slightly. Not much of a bend was necessary because their arms were so long and the huge hands so close to the ground. But the legs were never seen to bend, as if there were a knee joint. So yeah, no human-like bending. They seemed inflexible and might have almost been stilts. No one noticed the feet, although they must have been visible when the things floated. Yeah, they'd definitely seen them. Whether, they just mustn't have noticed.
No one could describe exactly how they looked.
The arms were bent at the elbow when the creatures approached the house with raised hands, but no other flexibility of arms or hands was noticed, except for a slight movement of the taloned fingers when the hand reached down towards Taylor's head. Neither the eyes nor the head were seen to turn to follow the movements of the human beings. It was about 11 o'clock when the Suttons got into 2 automobiles and headed at top speed for the Hopkinsville police station. Now, Eamon.
Yeah, so they just said, enough is enough, and they got out of there.
It's a fascinating tale, like, you know, I mean, really you have, like, multiple witnesses for this as well. So, like, even if the family all just got together and were like, yeah, let's just make this shit up, it's still interesting.
They put a good story together, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the other part as well is, and we don't really go into it too much because we've covered a lot of the, you know, what was happening in terms of the creatures approaching the Suttons, but they went to the police station at 11 o'clock. They actually, when they went back to the house afterwards, the creatures came back again, and then they just were like, right, we're just getting the fuck out of here now. You know, so it's really a really bizarre encounter. Now, the next stuff we're taking is largely from the book Close Encounter at Kelly and Others, 1955, by Isabel Davies and Ted. It looks like Blocher, but maybe I'm going to say...
I would have said Blocher.
Blocher, yeah, we'll say Blocher. Yeah. But this is her kind of investigating it, little bits and pieces from the police and stuff like that. So, to kind of kick off the investigation, Chief Greenwell, who was head of the Hopkinsville police, she said that her sort of interviewing him and talking to him, she said 2 items about Chief Greenwell were important in terms of the investigation. He himself had seen a UFO, and his mother was a full-blooded Shoshone Indian.
Oh,
the latter
I like how he said that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's how you say it, but sure, I just did my best,
nice.
You know. You just... Shoshone. Sounds like a nice name, doesn't it? Would you call your daughter Shoshone?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Shoshone.
Yeah, sounds nice. The latter fact probably meant that he had had some experience with the kind of prejudice that falls to a lot of minority groups. So she sort of thought that he would consider the Sutton story from a viewpoint that was not available to a lot of other investigators. He's had what he would call a UFO experience, and he's also been marginalized because of his Indian descent, or his Native American descent rather. So that, you know, puts him at maybe a more compassionate place to kind of take this at face value.
Yeah, well, he's not dismissing them as like yokels out to make a quick buck or to try and get infamy from the story, or like he's saying, hear them out. You know, I've been prejudiced because of my race or my upbringing and where I'm from, and yeah, so let's go with it. But so there was a bit of a sighting around the same time. Yeah. So
basically, there was an instance where he and many other drivers stopped their cars to watch a glowing oval object in the sky above them. Greenwell said that it remained in the same place for 30 of 40 minutes, which again, this is a pretty good amount of time for a UFO sighting. Yeah, for sure. Before departing at high speeds. Again, we see a lot of stuff like that with the anti-gravity propulsion systems, say UFOs. He then returned to the Lake Hotel, I believe, which is where, to find out whether any of his sister's guests, so she had been staying, or he had been staying in her hotel, she owned the Lake Hotel, had observed the object, and many of them said they had seen it, and he sort of estimated somewhere in the region of 75 to 100 people had actually seen this object. Yeah, so that's just give you a bit of a I suppose, background into Greenwell's sighting. It's not extravagant, certainly not as extravagant as getting shot by shooting at a load of little green men. But all in all, it's interesting that he had seen that. So, thanks to those 2 factors, his own sighting, his personal background, Chief Greenwell was a good deal less inclined to scoff at the Suttons and their story than most of his fellow townspeople.
He heard them out then, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Isabel tracked down Mrs. Langford, was it?
Yeah.
And she was not glad to see her. She said, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I've talked to so many people. So she was just fed up of talking to everybody. Like, at this stage, everyone was bugging him. Everyone wanted answers. Everyone had questions, whatever. Eventually, Miss Langford agreed to answer only questions about the things which she had seen with her own eyes. So I suppose it sounds like, at least, it's kind of interesting that she phrased it in that way, because it sounds like she was more annoyed at the questions that she had no answer to. So, like,
Yeah.
was there a UFO there, or was there this, was there that? And she didn't have the answers, probably getting fairly annoyed. Maybe people were trying to put words into her mouth. The lies they told about us, said we were drinking. The things they put into the newspapers, like saying we were 12 or 15 of them, the little man. People just want to make money out of it and sell things. Apparently, she'd been visited by salesmen several times to set up concession stands in the yard. Yeah, of course, this was the 50s, right?
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
is like, come on, like, in the 50s, everyone used to just set up concession stands in their yard. It was like, you know, it was the done thing. These offers were never accepted.
Yeah, so it seems as though it wasn't a cash grab, right? You know, if they're not accepting these offers. However, I also read that in the following days, after radio stations and newspapers, including the New York Times, reported the incident, hundreds of curiosity seekers descended on the farm. Now, they often sort of ridicule the Suttons as ignorant or fraudulent. And a lot of people also said that they had been drinking that night, drinking moonshine, you know, and just seeing mad stuff. However, it's worth noting here that Mrs. Langford had a strict no spirits rule in the house, so no one was allowed to drink hard liquor there. The people did
I think
say,
by even no spirits, that would mean like no drink at all, right?
well, I think she allowed a couple of beers, and
Right.
sure, there had been a couple of beers drank that night when the investigators got there, but not
Right.
like a ridiculous amount of beers.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
But the Suttons, what I read was that when these no trespassing signs they put up for these people who were visiting the property proved useless at discouraging them, the family actually did try charging admission, so 50 cents for entering the grounds, $1 for information, or $10 for taking pictures. So obviously some skeptics would blast them as fortune-seeking fabulists in this case. Or are they just trying to make the best out of a bad situation? I don't know.
I mean, it's hard to know the entire picture. I would be curious to know their financial situation. It kind of at the minute sounds like they probably were in maybe not the best financial situation, because a lot of people were living there.
I think they had enough to kind of get by, but obviously, yeah, they weren't making a huge amount of money or anything like that. It was mostly seemed to be subsistence and probably some manual labour, and I would imagine made some earnings from their tobacco farming, you know, and I think that was quite common back then as well. But as we said before, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that would bring in the question, like, would it be possible that they all sort of got together and said, like, let's fabricate a story to make money? Do you know?
I'll tell you
That's
this.
just to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, no,
like.
absolutely. It's more plausible that people did that than little green men attacking the house.
well,
I'm not
it
saying
was,
that didn't happen, but, you know. But what is interesting, we talked about the little green men returning again after they went to the police station. So she actually saw more creatures, Rob, during their second visit at about 3:30 in the morning. Is that right?
Yeah, indeed. So she was lying on her bed in the living room, again, sleeping in the living room, possible.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I suppose she had diabetes feet and stuff like that. So
And
maybe
I think
she
it's a
was-
3-bed house and there's about 50 people there or whatever.
Right, yeah. So she was in the living room trying to sleep when it came up to the window beside the fireplace, seeming to have come around the chimney. I turned my head 3 different times, because I thought maybe my eyes were fooling me. But every time I turned my head back, there he was, close enough to put his little clawy hands up on it. Up on what?
I think she was up on the window, up on the glass of the window.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. Chief Greenwell has said of Miss Langford that she was the most impressive witness. She's the type of person who wouldn't tell a lie if her life depended on it. Greenwell is on the Langford train, isn't he, really?
Yeah, he's supporting them, you know. And we go on to see as well that Greenwell himself also reported seeing a luminous type substance where one of the goblins had been shot. And he also asserted that this wasn't aluminium foil, as some people have speculated.
That was what you were covered in that night.
Yeah, I would have been covered in Bako
Yeah.
foil. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to cover the fullness of the nether regions, but sure, look. But also in interviews, Chief Greenwell talked several times to each of the women. So they were basically trying to trip them up by referring to the small eyes of the creature or their suits or the noises they had made. But he was always corrected. So basically, this is like sort of cross-examination stuff. So if you've seen any stuff where someone fabricates a story and then you see video of them getting interviewed by the police basically just will always wind up tripping them up. And the more people involved in the lie, the easier it is to trip them up, you know?
Yeah, I watched that fucking murder yoke there, Piers Morgan interviewing them women, and Piers Morgan's got a lot of shout-outs on episodes recently.
Yeah.
And a girl, 15-year-old girl, and like 2 or 3 lads murdered another 15-year-old kid, and yeah, basically they got them all together one by one, interviewed them, and yeah, all their stories fell to shit like really quickly. So yeah, cross-examination usually is very effective.
Yeah. Like the state police also came to the property as well. At least one of them questioned the children, talked to several of the neighbours. This state trooper was one of the people that the Lady Isabel had talked to in Hopkinsville, but his time was limited and she didn't get details of his interviews with the neighbours. The details, which she figured would be of extreme interest, might be included in the official report on the case, filed at the main police stations in Frankfort, Kentucky, but she wasn't able to get these files. So it's unknown whether the county sheriff's office investigated any further than that. But in terms of the questioning, they couldn't find, they couldn't slip the witnesses up, and you'd imagine, especially with kids, like that they would get something wrong or make a mistake, you know?
Yeah, you would think so. So the important question here, Eamon, is sighting or shiting?
Well, is it a sighting?
What side do you want, do you think? Do you think that the Langfords are telling the God's honest truth? Or there's a bit of a shame?
I kind of hope so. Like, it's a fun story, right?
Yeah, man. Look, yeah, I think are carnies to be trusted?
Jeez.
When it comes to stories like this,
I would say yes.
Right. Okay. So
I would say yes. I don't know. I don't know if they
50s carnies dealt in the like ridiculous.
Yeah. That's
50s carnies would have been dressing up like golden retrievers as lions, and you know, doing all that type of mad shit, painting golden retrievers as tigers, you know, all that stuff.
So is this just a crazy story? I mean, would it make sense? Like, this is really kind of like deep end stuff.
The policeman lends credibility to it a lot. Now, we have to figure out, he's the guy that we should be. Yeah, he's the guy that we should be looking into. Like, who is this guy? Like, what's his background? Blah, blah, blah. We do know that he's seen something. He is a believer himself. You know, I could imagine most 50s police officers not being that, like, gullible, I would hope.
No.
But then again, you never know. Like, that's just an assumption on my part. So,
yeah.
It's very hard to establish whether it's a sighting or a shiting. I'm going to go with sighting, actually. Do you know what? I think it was something weird, and I'm going to go with it.
Well, if you're going with it, so am I. Strength in numbers.
Yeah. We're going with a sighting. It's not a shiting.
But tell us what some of the skeptics might have said about this.
Yeah. And also, listeners, if you think it's a sighting or a shiting, please let us know in the comments on Instagram or Facebook, wherever. Fill us in on sighting or shiting. So we have some skeptics here, guys, that if you do believe it's a shiting, this might help.
They're trying to ruin all the fun.
Yes, as always. So psychologist Rodney Schmaltz and Scott Lilienfeld cite the alleged incident as an example of pseudoscience and an extraordinary claim to help students develop critical thinking skills. It is plausible, if not likely, that the aliens were great horned owls, and there is some evidence that the eyewitnesses may have been intoxicated during the alien attack.
Now, again, this part, a lot of people said they were drinking, but there is that part where Miss Langford doesn't have hard liquor there, and they didn't find a whole lot of cans. And I've drank cans to excess before, and I've never seen a Little Green Men
master,
can fiend. Now, the other thing that's interesting about this, remember we were talking about Billy Ray shooting through the screen at one of the things, right? And they hit them, okay? Mm-hmm. So we know that they've hit a few of these guys. if it is great horned owls and maybe they're protecting a nest or something like that, and they're maybe attacking the house and that's why they're not coming in, if you were to shoot one of those,
That's dodged.
yeah, that's a big blood
Dodged.
splatter, and the police would have found that, and they would have found the feathers, and they would have been able to explain all this away. So
Listen, I shot at a rat before with a 2-2. Messy. It was messy.
Lionel Messi.
I had a siege of rats on my grandparents' house, and because they were pests, I had to eliminate the rats. And I decided what better way to do it than with a rifle, like a yokel. And split one in half with a rifle. So
Lovely.
It is like if you shot an owl with a rifle like that, like 2-2s aren't mad powerful, but like it will kill it. Absolutely, without question. And also, an owl is such a departure from what they're actually talking about here. Like, in some senses, it does make sense because they're like, well, we didn't really see its legs, or its legs were just on stilts. So you could say maybe it is an owl because
Could be, yeah.
an owl's body is quite rectangular, like a fuel can, and they do have bright eyes. And I suppose in some cases they would appear bulbous and sort of out of their face, like upturned bottle caps, like we were talking about. But like the other thing that we don't know about here is the intelligence level of the members of this family. Like, are these like, you know, people who are psychologically impaired? Like, you know, are these like very low IQ people? Like, or are these people who like have their wits about them and know the difference in everything?
I'd say if you have like, you know, a dozen of them, you're gonna have some mixed ability. But I'd say Miss Langford seems like she's fairly on the ball about stuff.
Yeah. I suppose so. Yeah, I suppose. Interesting stuff, all the same. But the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry member and skeptic Joe Nichol notes that the family could have... Yeah, that's the same one, right? Eagle owls again. Yeah, that's what we read from.
It's just a bit more detail in it.
Yeah, so they were saying that the owls are nocturnal, fly silently, have yellow eyes, aggressively defend their nests. Now, would they nest so close to a house, though? Like,
and why would it all happen that night when they're just in there, not doing anything? Yeah.
According to Nichol, meteor sightings also occurred at the time that could explain Billy Ray Taylor's claim that he saw a bright light streak across the sky and disappear beyond a tree line some distance from the house. According to author Brian Dunning, there are simply too many similarities between the creatures reported by the families and an aggressive pair of local grey-horned owls, which do stand about 2/3 of a metre tall. Brian Dunning, Eamon, where can you find Brian Dunning?
Yeah, so I listened to, it's episode 411 of the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most heated debates he's had with a guest.
One of them, yeah.
I would say that Brian Dunning is very much about being skeptical and not being open-minded at all. Now, take that whatever way you want to, but he's actively trying to disprove everything. And I think his background as well, and I could be wrong about this, I think he was raised to be very religious and was very religious for a long time, eventually got out of that and now is like on a skeptic quest. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that was the...
Yeah, he's to be honest, like, you know, Joe can be a hard-headed gonk at times too, but that guy really sort of, I found very hard to listen to. I'm not really into guys that are like, I'm a skeptic, because it's very like they're like, prove me wrong, I'm always right, and it's kind of like, ugh, you know,
it's a power play. You're using it to kind of bully people a little bit, I think. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's a bit shite, like, so. But having said that, you know, great horned owls are fairly magnificent creatures. Yeah. I mean, look, no wings were described in the stories. It was distinctly arms. There was no feathers or anything like that. So it is probably unlikely that it is. Unless, you never know, maybe the family were like, oh, you know, we can make a spin where we say that these little men came and maybe we'll kidnap these owls and we'll bring them to the circus and travel with them, or something like that.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, again, I suppose it's all just conjecture, because you're either saying, if what they're saying is true, you're kind of going, well, that's you're just believing an account. And if you're saying it's not true, you're really just believing a different explanation from somebody else. So, I mean, look, obviously it's easier to believe it's owls than aliens because I've never seen aliens, but I've seen a few owls. But again, I'm not saying that doesn't mean it's true. Like, no one thought there were black swans before we found a black swan, you know?
Mm-hmm. Now, Eamon, we've had other alien visits in Kentucky.
Yeah.
The famous... Well, this might bring you some PTSD, perhaps.
Oh, gosh.
Does it? I mean, the last time you talked...
Captain Thomas F. Mantell incident, January 7th, 1948, Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Sorry.
How's your underpants?
Oh, Rob. Oh, man.
Sake.
I'm after...
Again?
It's not even Weetabix dust, man. It's just it's like 3 Weetabix after being in the milk for a while.
He's fucking arseholes.
I'm after shitting myself again.
Luckily, we've partnered with MeUndies to offer some Monsterfuls March underpants, and we'll get a new pack straight to you, Eamon.
I'll need it, yeah. And I'll have to I have to turn on the immersion before I can take a shower, and that take about 40 minutes to heat up. Oh man,
we can't keep talking about the Mantell incident, Eamon.
We can't talk. The Mantell. Oh, Jesus. Anyway.
So, what happened at the Kentucky Mantell incident?
Yeah, so if you want to know a bit more, we touched on this briefly in our Japan Airlines episode.
Indeed.
Go back and listen to that if you haven't. It's a good little episode about alien spacecraft that trail a cargo plane in Japan.
What more could you want?
In Alaska on a Japan Airlines flight. Okay. So it's considered to be one of the classic early UFO incidents that went on to shape public perception of the phenomenon. Captain Thomas Mantell, who was a young pilot from Goldman Army Airfield, was sent to investigate a massive circular object hovering at an extreme altitude near Madisonville, Kentucky. Eyewitness descriptions of the object estimate that it was around 300 feet in diameter, possibly metallic, and trailing a gaseous green mist, like Jenkum.
Yeah.
One observer claimed that it briefly descended before shooting upward to its original height at a speed greater than 500 miles per hour. Again, anti-gravity. People can't stand the G's. They're going to die. Mantell pursued the UFO in an F-51D Mustang to an altitude of more than 25,000 feet before presumably losing consciousness due to lack of oxygen.
As you do.
Yeah, that'll happen. His plane then crashed near Franklin, Kentucky. The object then disappeared soon after. Richard T. Miller, who was monitoring Mantell's radio talk from Scott Air Force Base in Illinois, claims he heard Mantell clearly exclaim, "My God, I see people in this thing."
It's full of stars, Eamon.
Stars, stars, stars.
Famous 2001 quote there for you. So we have some lights at Big Bone Lick, Florence, Kentucky.
All right.
Big Bone Lick is a very interesting name. Kind of curious as to how it got that name.
Let's not think about it.
No, yeah, it's probably best we don't. So since 1974, residents surrounding Big Bone Lick State Park in northern Kentucky have reported seeing inexplicable orbs of erratically moving light above the area. One woman even claims to have witnessed a mothership the size of a football field when she was a teenager. In 2017, that same woman and other corroborating witnesses said they saw strobing green, red and orange lights dancing over the treetops. Shortly after, the woman says she clearly observed a silver flying saucer with 3 windows. She installed a motion-activated trail cam on her property that captured those black and white images of the UFOs. Also, you might remember lights above the treetops in our roping episode, as a matter of fact. There's, that phenomena did present itself a little bit. And Eamon, another one that we have.
Stanford Abduction.
Yeah, what is the Stanford Abduction?
Okay, so this is January 6th, 1976 in Stanford, Kentucky. It's apparently one of the most credible of all the alien abduction stories. 3 women were driving home from dinner on US 27 in Stanford, Kentucky. Rob's just augmenting the text here again. When they saw what they thought was an airplane on fire falling from the sky, but the object stopped on a dime less than 100 feet from the ground beside them, and the women claim caused the car to accelerate uncontrollably. They could now see what they described as a disc-shaped craft with revolving yellow lights that maneuvered behind them and began pulling their vehicle towards it. A blue light then filled the car, and the next thing the passengers remember was being back on the highway, driving home, but confused and noticeably hot, like, and then Rob's written, I like Mickeys. So it originally read, noticeably hot, like they had been subjected to powerful sun lamps, but now it reads, noticeably hot, like I like Mickeys, they had been subjected to powerful sun lamps. So, pretty good stuff there, guys. They had also lost about an hour and a half of time that none of them could account for. Residents of nearby counties independently reported the same UFO around the time of the alleged encounter. In the following months, skeptical investigators subjected the women to polygraphs, which they all passed, and under deep hypnosis, all three women recalled being taken aboard a UFO and subjected to a physical examination by small silent beings with large eyes and hands like jagged wingtips, which seems to correlate with our goblins. One claimed to have been placed in a glass capsule where a skin sample was taken for her chest. And one claimed that her eyes were temporarily removed from their sockets and replaced. Ugh, that's grim. Yeah. And each actually had symptoms like burns and eye inflammation consistent with the statements.
Elon Musk,
I'm telling you. So that's what about some pop culture goblins, Rob? What are we thinking about those?
Well, I'm glad you asked. We have the famous one, actually, that is, I believe, based on the he's up to fucking bollocks. The Pokemon Sableye, who is really annoying and hard to catch in Pokemon Go, actually, if you play that game.
I haven't.
No, you haven't.
I don't know anything about Pokemon.
Yeah, Eamon, unusually, the thing about Eamon is, as we know, he is the king of all the weebs, doesn't play Pokemon, which is probably one of the weebiest ones. Well, I suppose it's not really. I suppose the weebs probably look down on Pokemon. Yeah. It's not like hardcore enough for him, you know. It's probably too pop culture.
It's too pop culture. I hate it. No, I don't hate Pokemon. I just never really got into it.
Yeah. Well, you were like 25 when Pokemon came out or something, so.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so. It's based on the goblins and from the description in the Kelly-Hopkinsville encounter. Now, to be honest with you, Eamon, have you ever seen Sableye?
I have.
Doesn't really look like it's kind of metallic looking. It does have raised out eyes and it does have the ears back, but it does have long legs and the arms are a little bit longer. But the cool thing it does, Eamon, actually, is in Pokemon Go anyway, at least, if you tap the little motherfucker after you catch him, he'll do a backflip for you.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So they obviously took that from the...
Yeah, the story where he backflips.
Great stuff.
Yeah, and he does little chatter and all that, like, kind of. So he's cool. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the Pathfinder role-playing game, the Hobkins are a type of gremlin from the Bestiary 5 book, and that is based upon goblins described in the encounter. The Kelly-Hopkinsville encounter was the basis for the Annoyance Theatres musical. It came from Kentucky in Chicago. The American television series Project Big Knobs, 4th episode.
Project Blue Book.
Yes, okay. Project Big Knobs, 4th episode, 2nd season on the History Channel. Do you know how I got the idea to fuck with you in the docs doing this, by the way?
How?
This was actually from a helpful idea. So, remember when you were about to piss yourself in the Hunter interview?
I do.
You should have just wrote in the doc, I need to piss.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I could have wrote back, like, and go and take a pee. You know, like you're in school and you're passing notes, would have been like that.
I'll know that next time we do an interview.
Yeah,
But I'll probably be on those anti-P tablets you're on now, so I'd be grand.
If you want, man, I'll hook you up with anti-Ps. I'm probably not going to take a month's worth of anti-P tablets that are really strong, to be honest with you, because I don't want my bladder to fall in
I think
arse.
I have a crisp packet lying around, so I could always just go down to the doctor tomorrow and see what he thinks.
Yeah, well, let him know anyway and see what the crack is.
Yeah. Tell him Rob sent you.
Yeah, I do, yeah. Hellier is a digital documentary series by Carl Pfeiffer under the banner Planet Weird that aims to explore a string of synchronicities that take place in Hellier, Kentucky, and starts with reference to the goblins of Kelly-Hopkinsville.
I watched a season of that.
Shite, is it?
I'll never get it back. It starts off really interesting, like really, really interesting. But then by the end of it, the synchronicities are like, oh my god, I was thinking banana and now I'm eating a banana. This is just also.
Right.
But it's in. To be fair, I haven't watched it all, and it was quite interesting. But it's a bit of a slog.
You don't want that. Look, in 2020, we've got enough entertainment. We don't need to be watching shite. That's the problem, Eamon. I'm going to be quite frank with you here now. That, like, you know, a lot of the time in our field, there's so much shite media that we have to get through that I don't actually bother me arse watching it a lot of the time. You know, that's the problem. Like part of
the
me,
cryptid stuff.
Yeah, like, you know, watching like shite films and all. You know, like I'm like, I don't want to fucking waste an hour and a half watching shit.
It can,
but like,
be
I feel
tricky.
like I should.
Sometimes I feel like, especially with some of the Bigfoot stuff, when people are just putting up videos and they're effectively just filming a bush for 2 hours. And you don't see anything, and I'm like, what was supposed to fucking happen here? And they're like,
but that too. But I'm talking more about like films, you know, like just like shit films that are kind of like
entertainment,
I suppose. Yeah.
I tried to watch it the film.
So you're good at this though. Like you're actually good at watching film. Like you'll sit down and watch a film. I don't really.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I suppose I will. Yeah, I'll watch a movie.
I don't, like, I never watch it on my own, ever.
Yeah?
Like, no, never. My general sort of chill out day to day is like, I have 2 monitors, so when I'm at home at night, I'll stick on a podcast on one monitor, usually like Your Mom's House, Joe Rogan, one of those offshoots, H3 podcast sometimes, things like that. And then on the other monitor, I'm usually playing a game, so I'll play like Mountain Blade Bannerlord at the minute. I'm playing the shit out of that. And that'd be it. So like, or if I'm wanting to just relax, I'll probably play like the Switch or something like that, you know, and just sort of chill out. So I never usually watch. I used to be a fiend for fucking movies, man. You know, I just never watch them now. I don't know why. Yeah. Podcasts ruined it on me, I think.
It can be tricky sometimes because, like, especially with smartphones and stuff. Back when I used to watch a lot of movies, there wasn't really any smartphones.
Same.
You get distracted easily, which is a shame.
This is
a shame. So I miss my wooden phone because this new one's captivating.
It is. There is attention grabs. It is. The phone is a big struggle. Absolutely, it's tough. I listen to a guy sometimes by the name of Lex Friedman.
Oh,
you ever seen him on Joe Rogan?
Yeah, I've heard him before.
Yeah, interesting guy. I just stumbled across a video. I'm not really into his shit, shall we say.
Seems like a nice guy, though.
I like him, but I just haven't, like, what I mean by not into his shit is I'm not, like, balls deep in all of his shit, and, you know. I seen, like, a 24 a day in the life that he did. And one of the cool things he does is he only checks social media 3 times a day, and he gives himself 10 minutes each time, I think, something like that. And that's it. So he'll, like, sit down in the morning, he'll have 10 minutes with his phone for social media. That's it. Dushed. Puts the phone away.
That makes a lot of sense, to be fair.
I really like that, but what I will say is, and especially for us in podcasting and things like that, is it is very enriching to, like, be able to reach out to your fans and be available. And also, now obviously you do have to set boundaries and stuff like that, but I do think it helps when you're trying to grow a podcast to be available so that you can sort of interact with people. There would be a tipping point with that, I'd imagine. Like, obviously, when you're getting to the point where you just can't respond to everyone physically, you would have to sort of shut off, I suppose, and then give yourself a 10-minute window and go, okay, all right, I'll answer as many people in this 10-minute window as I can, and then I'm gone. But, like, there's different challenges to it, you know, because you want to maintain a community. You want to be on Discord. You want to be hanging out with your people on Discord. I couldn't fucking believe, man. I was listening to the History podcast the other day, right? And Hila, Ethan's wife, one half of it, she was like, oh, I haven't gone onto the Discord yet, you know, because I'm afraid. I'm like, motherfucker, you're getting thousands, like, off your fans. Like, hundreds of thousands probably overall. Like, you're making bank and you're not willing to go into a Discord and hang out with the people that want to support you.
Yeah.
Like, that to me is fucking get a grip. Like that that to me is alien. Like, you just can't, you shouldn't do that. I just think it's a shit way to think, really, to be honest, quite frankly.
And why doesn't she? Like, what's the...
Just doesn't think, you know, she just is a bit afraid of it or something, she was saying.
Sure, look.
Yeah, but sure, like, look, this is what you're in. This is part of the game, you know. You know, you gotta get your feet wet.
Embrace your fears. Try to control them. Try to tame them.
Hang out with the fucking people that want to hear you fucking talk. Like,
well, that's true, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're jumping into some fucking generic forum. Like, this is literally a tailor-made fucking Discord of people who want to chat to you.
Yeah. I'm not, I must admit, I haven't really listened to a whole lot of H3. Like, I've heard some of the interviews on it, but I don't know. Is it good? I'm not a massive fan, I don't think.
I preferred H3 on videos.
Oh, okay.
I thought his YouTube stuff, his old skits were fantastic.
Yeah. Is he a comedian? Good. Like,
yeah, he was.
Right.
He was a skit-based comedian.
Right.
I would argue now that, you know, I don't know whether he's very funny off the cuff, like, kind of stuff. I don't know. It's like he's good. Like, it's a weird one. He's good, but I think I preferred his old YouTube shit a lot more. I just think that they do a lot of podcasts as well, you know. It's hard. It must be hard. Because he's a YouTuber, they get a lot of backlash all the time as well. I think that can really fuck with your head too. I think I know he's publicly talked about issues with depression, and I think that also will fuck with your mojo when you're trying to record like long form podcasts or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, but his old YouTube shit was fucking classic, man. Like, he was really good at just tearing into people, like really jeery and funny that way.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah.
No.
Have you got anything to add, Eamon?
Jesus. No, I'd be curious to see, has anybody got any interesting reports of alien sightings themselves? I don't. I thought I saw a UFO once when I was a kid, but I'm pretty sure it was just a truck in the distance. That's not even a joke. Like, I think I saw it drive into some trees and I was sure I'd seen a UFO because it was totally circular and silver and just went into the forest near my house. But
and they're in Wexford, like.
Yeah, when I was sitting on the hill with like a buddy of mine back when I was a kid, like 9 or 10.
So whereabouts were you sitting?
I was sitting, you know where our hill is, just going down from my house say to Wayne's place. Yeah. And we were just sitting on the street and looking at, like, you know, the way there's a few trees down there just around the river.
Yeah, the park and all that.
Yeah, and there was like, I saw this big silver sort of a ball thing go into the trees, and it didn't come from the sky, so I'm assuming it was some sort of weird looking van. But, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe has anyone else seen anything similar? Is this giant silver orb just going around the place?
Yeah, well, this is it. Guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode, because I'm sure Eamon hopes as well.
I hope that you've enjoyed the episode, but if you haven't, I'm sorry that we're not where we used to be. I'm sorry that we don't have the relationship we used to have, because we're trying. We're recording 4 hours now. I have to get up for work in 8 hours. And
you're just raging now that you can't play your SNES.
I'm going to play it for 10 minutes, but we're doing our best, and I hope you're enjoying it. If you have any suggestions to make it better, as long as the suggestions don't be absolutely absurd, because that's a big part of what we do. And the other one is research better. I don't know if we can do that either, I'm afraid.
No, we're not that podcast. We're not about that life. We're not about that life.
But I am curious, is there anything else people want to hear in terms of like episodes you'd like us to do stuff on? Because we have another one in the pan, the Melon Heads, and then I'm going to research another one. I was thinking of the Fresno Nightwalkers, but I'm not sure.
So yeah, our schedule, Eamon, at the minute looks kind of like probably, I'm not sure when this episode is going out, folks, but Halloween might be right around the corner after the Melonheads or this episode.
Oh, I sent you the thing for Halloween as well.
Yeah, so in any case, we have for the week of Halloween, I can't remember if I've said this, I probably have said it on air, I'm not sure, but we plan on like hopefully trying to get 3 episodes out for the week of Halloween. One of those episodes I'm going to do the origins of Halloween, Samhain, and we're going to talk about the origins of Samhain, you know, some of the cool stories around that, blah blah blah. Then we're going to have Eamon's short story, which was read on a podcast in kind of like a no sleep style, or one of those Welcome to Night Vale style type of podcast where they actually talk, Eamon's short stories read.
Yeah, they made it like a little radio play. It's called The Wicked Library. It's a cool little place actually for some spooky stories.
Yeah, so it's going to be cool. We'll probably Eamon put that out on Halloween Day, I think is the best time for that. And then we'll try and pad out maybe even 4 episodes that week, just because it's Halloween. It's my favourite holiday.
My favourite holiday too, man. We can do maybe. I'd like to do a watch along or something like that if we could, if it's possible.
We need to figure out the tech for that shit, but most definitely we will try and do that. And guys, we hope you've enjoyed this episode, right?
We certainly do. And like I said, if you haven't, I apologise.
I've been Rob.
And I've been Eamon.
And we're out of here, folks.
See
Bye.
ya.